You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just come. Just come. Just come. Just come.
From New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the Gunr4sR Rating Cup Series is ready to crown a champion in the hills of the Granite State. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Loudon, New Hampshire, where after a grueling season, these drivers have all arrived at the intersection of speed, practice, patience, and skill. Tonight, we're focused on the Championship 4, which includes Nick Snyder, Chris Gilbert, Eric Shearer, and Brandon Meyer, and now it's time for winner-take-all when the checkered flag flies after dueling for 105 laps on this short track that can be almost harder to tame than the granite underneath. I'm Dave Regal alongside my esteemed broadcast partner, Mr. Shane Lake, here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, and we'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag, right here on Sim Racing Media. And Shane, listen, as always, it's exciting when I get to find out that you're going to be my partner for the night. And here we are in championship form at New Hampshire.
And not just that, but welcome to my backyard, Dave. The Magic Mile is about to crown itself a champion, so we're going to have to see who's got the Houdini skills today to pull the upset, or do we end up having Nick Snyder run away with it again? 8 wins on the season, and coming off of a win in Iowa, he's trying to make a statement saying, you got to come through me. But I have got a feeling we're about to see some fireworks today.
Yeah, these drivers here in the top 4, they're going to face some interesting conditions here on the racetrack. 72 degrees in the stands, cloudy skies, so that'll keep the track temperature down for sure. 97 degrees right now on the asphalt. We're going to watch that change as we get deeper here into the race. And speaking of that Championship 4, let's take a quick peek here at, of course, what we've got going on for that, as we see here on your screens right now, folks, Nick Snyder, Chris Gilbert, Eric Shearer, and Brandon Meyer, your Championship 4. Of course, as Shane mentioned, Nick Snyder's got 8 W's on the season already. And these drivers that are joining him here in the top 4, they have all earned their way here.
Yes, they have. And the interesting thing is, right now, the bottom 2, Eric Shearer and Brandon Meyer, no wins on the season. They ended up Ryan Newmaning their way into things. There's a term for NASCAR fans. But could we end up seeing the ultimate upset this season with one of those 2 knocking off Nick and taking the win home today along with the championship?
We've seen that come close a couple of times in the history of NASCAR, and tonight may be no different. Don't get me wrong, Nick Snyder, obviously a very talented driver. here in this league. But at the same time, these other drivers have earned their place here in the Final Four. I mean, I never ever want to discount when we see some of these drivers who, oh, gee, they don't have a win. Yeah, but they have been consistent and good all season long.
Yeah, and consistency wins championships, and we could actually see that parlay tonight because we could end up seeing both Nick and Chris Gilbert end up having problems, and somebody who doesn't have a win could end up pointing their way to the championship. I mean, 105 laps around here, it's still a long way to go, and this track hasn't been known to play favorites in the past.
The interesting thing tonight, though, at least my opinion, is the number of drivers that we're going to see on the racetrack. Just 11 or 12 that we saw during practice.
Yeah, and that means that it's going to be a little bit more spread out. You've got 3 stages tonight, 20, 30, and the final being 55. We could end up seeing this race spread out and click off at a rabbit's pace. So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing this thing end in under, an hour and a half, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, these drivers, they've been together all season long, so you start to know a little bit about where everybody runs. I mean, according to timing and scoring, it's actually 14 drivers that were in the session. 13, though, laid down qualifying efforts, are here and ready to take the green flag as Nick Snyder is getting ready to crawl into the cockpit now. As we pull him up here, all of a sudden I can't get the graphics to work. There they go. Thanks, SDK. We love you so much.
It wouldn't be a broadcast with us without a little bit of scuff tonight.
And, of course, I was looking for Nick Snyder here in the Discord chat, and he's not there. So, unfortunately, not going to get a chance to talk to him. But I do believe that Brandon Meyer is here, who's going to sit on the outside of row number 1. Let's see if we can get a hold of him quick.
Yeah, he's in the Discord. I see him.
Hey, Brandon, it's Dave and Shane up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I have a copy.
Hey, man, listen, here it is, championship night. You're going to start in the front row. Obviously, you're here in the Final Four. What's the strategy tonight? Is this a full send kind of evening for you?
No, it's going to be, I got to protect myself here. Nick's a very good driver. New Hampshire is my home track. It is 20 minutes from my driveway, so I am looking forward to this. I love this track. I've been here numerous times with racing late model tours, not racing them, but spotting them. So I know this track drives. So I got to stay consistent tonight. I cannot mess up, and I can hopefully get this thing into victory lane.
All right, man. Well, listen, thank you for your time. Good luck, as I know that you're about to roll off here at the starting line. Brandon Meyer in the Final Four, going to be rolling off on the outside of row number 1.
Hey, he's got a point. He's got a big point when it comes to this track. The more you know it, the more you're around it, the more you understand the nuances, because you're going to see a lot of guys try to work the bottom groove of this track. That's not the fast way around here. You want to be a groove or two up off of that. So it'll be interesting to see exactly if the knowledge that Meyer has can translate into a win here tonight.
Yes, sir, and of course we want to quick run through our starting lineup. Nicholas Snyder going to be on the pole position. He'll be followed by Brandon Meyer on the outside. Aaron Thompson and Eric Shearer are going to be in row 2. Braden Morey and Chris Gilbert in row 3 with Ted Reckick and Rupert Thompson in row 4. Reggie Packard and Gary Mansberger going to round out the 10 drivers who will take the green flag. The Iracing.com pace car lights are out. That means that we will be going green flag racing this time by, as Nicholas Snyder here on championship night has control of the field. He has control of his own destiny in this first season of 2024. They take a couple of weeks off. And as the Iracing.com pace car makes the hard left turn down pit road, the only thing that's left to do is it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab some popcorn, call a friend, and settle in. Race fans, it's showtime!
And speaking of showtime, Meyer has checked out on that outside groove, taking the lead over Nicholas Snyder as they come off of turn number 2.
Brandon Meyer already getting the lead here. Looks like he's about 0.2 of a second ahead of Nicholas Snyder. But, at this point in the race, it's way too early to make any kind of early determination. But look here from Snyder's perspective as we're going to go on board with him. He is all Oh my, I almost swallowed my drink too early. All over the rear end of Brandon Meyer. And they are side by side coming out of 2.
Yeah, they've already started going tooth and nail. And here comes Nick Snyder coming off the inside, trying to actually make the inside work in 3 and 4. Pulls the slide job off and reassumes the lead. As Snyder ends up coming down, leading this lap, we actually had a spin in the back earlier on. The 86 car went around coming off of turn number 4, but we keep it clean and green as we have a battle here coming up for third. Aaron Thompson's holding off Brandon Morey. These guys are already scrapping.
Not only that, but Aaron Thompson just laid down fast time of the race at 30.1 even. Aaron Thompson here in the 6, of course, currently being scored here as the 30, well, he's the 6 in the 3 car. The 34, of course, Brandon Meyer on the high side. But we see Thompson nearly making contact. All of a sudden, Braden Morey here in the 4, he's kind of getting a little bit loose and fighting off what seems to be a connection issue. Is now Rupert Thompson going to come in here alongside. It's been a long time since I've heard these Gen 6 cars wound up the way that they are tonight.
Yeah, screaming at 87, 8,800 RPM going into these corners. It is a musical sound when these things are fired up on all these cylinders. I enjoy it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's nice to pretend that we're saving fuel with that 5th gear in the next gen car. But these things cranked up just sound sexy.
Yeah, they do. I mean, taking a listen to some of this, I mean, you're talking 86, 8,700 RPM before you're hard on the brakes here. And that's the biggest thing. You don't realize how much brake pedal you actually have to use here. For me, it's like an elongated Martinsville. You're jamming this thing into the corner doing about 145, 150. Then you're so hard on the brakes, then you just got to wait on the car, and then pick the throttle up. I mean, right now, I'm looking at some of these guys. They are tacking out at 9,000 RPM before they hit the brakes.
You know what? That's a really good way to describe this track as Gary Mansberger is registering a crash. Looks like the caution has now come out as Gary Mansberger has dove down pit lane. But I think that's probably the best analogy to describe this racetrack, that it's an elongated Martinsville.
I mean, it really is. As flat as this track is and as long and sweeping as these corners are, it is definitely a truly elongated Martinsville. As I'm looking back here through some of the cameras on what happened.
Looks like Mansberger got himself loose coming out of 4, but he came to a blissful rest right in front of those barrels at the entrance to pit road, so he kind of has to... Okay, buddy. Nope, there we go. Okay. Something must be heinously wrong there on the 86.
I think he's got those tires completely angry because he spun it coming off of turn 4 earlier in the race and now doing it again. There's something really wrong with that car.
Going on board with him.
Oof. I don't know what's wrong with that thing, but it is evil right now.
I'll tell you what it is. Do you see how choppy that steering wheel action is? He has a hardware issue.
Oh, that's never good on a championship race.
I almost wonder if Mansberger's racing with a controller.
You know what? That really wouldn't surprise me.
Just the way that he got on and off the throttle, and the way that wheel was twisting back and forth as he was trying to get, pointed the right direction again, just screamed controller. And folks, there's no knock on what kind of equipment you use to race. I mean, there are, folks with disabilities that race with controllers that, I mean, they make some people that have full motion rigs look like pedestrians.
Yep, that's true.
There's a guy in a league, his name is Michael, that we used to cover here on Sim Racing Media. I love Michael to death. He was so cool to watch race. And I asked him one time, oh man, what's your secret? Like, you're really fast, blah, 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 blah. He goes, I don't know. I said, well, so off air one time, we were just chatting one day. And I said, what's your rig like? I said, because, I'm always one of those people where I feel like it's the hardware that makes the difference. And he goes, dude, I'm in a wheelchair. I race with a controller. And my jaw just dropped to the floor.
Yeah, but I've actually got a few friends who had issues like that in the past when they were racing, and I was watching them go at it, and I was like, y'all are making me look bad. Like, wow.
Do you follow Justin Nunley on TikTok at all?
I've heard of him.
He's the listen. Did you know?
Oh yeah.
Actually, I interviewed him one time on our podcast here for Sim Racing Media. Folks can check that out on our website, simracingmedia.com. As Nicholas Snyder takes off under green once again on lap number 10, working our way toward the end of stage number 1 at lap 20. But Snyder just hopped out to a half-second lead over Rupert Thompson, and Thompson is left in the dust. Meanwhile, Braden Morey here in the 4 machine, he's chasing down Chris Gilbert in the 45, and they are just going to be exchanging blows as Ted Reich in the Hennessy 00 is all over the rear bumper of that Hunt Brothers number 4.
Yeah, he is. And the interesting thing that is missing out of all this, Brandon Meyer, he came down pit road during that caution, took on a set of tires. So I think he's trying to get a little bit of a strategy play here with, and just remember, we've got 5 sets of tires out here with 75% fuel for these cars. So he could be trying to make a huge play for the end of this race.
He could be trying to flip the stage, which is something that we see in stage racing. I see it all the time, of course, in the SNN family of racing series that has stages. And quite frankly, it's one of those situations where you've got to make that decision early and stick with it. Looks like Gary Mansberger dove back down pit lane. Here he is in the 86. As we had noted earlier, he was having some kind of mechanical problem with the 86. And there he is again with the rear end just jumping out around him. And this time it looks like he's going to opt to tow to pit lane.
Yeah, I think he's decided to put that thing on the hauler for the night because I don't even see him sitting on pit road.
Probably not a bad option. Here it is, championship night. If you're not in that championship form, maybe it is time just to hang up the boots for the season. As Nicholas Snyder, your race leader and your points leader, comes in here running in P1. He hasn't given up that lead except for a couple of laps earlier on in this race. Rupert Thompson up 6 positions running the 28 in P2, right here behind by about a half second. And that half second's been pretty consistent since he moved there.
Yeah, it seems to me like Nick Snyder's just kind of managing this race right now. I'm watching a lot of his entry and I'm watching a lot of his exit. He seems to be very fluid right now on and off the throttle, especially coming off the 4. So I just think he's just managing this half a second lead right now because it's too early to try to pull away for anything. You don't want to burn your stuff up until you absolutely have to.
Is it easier to manage your race when you're the leader, because you're out there and you can set that pace, obviously, with some distance between you and the car behind you? Or do you still try to do that even if you're mid-pack?
It's a lot easier being out front because you can kind of glance up in the mirror. You can actually have the eyeball test, which everybody knows. Just kind of glance up, see if anyone's there, see how close they're closing in, and know when you have to pick it up and know when you can kind of just back it down a little bit because that's just how racers are, and it just seems, speaking of picking it up, I think that 28 car just picked up about 2/10.
We're about to go to that now here as we look at the lap times. Thompson is starting to be a little bit more consistent here with his lap times, and, when we see that green, that means that he ran a faster lap than Nicholas Snyder. And that's 3 in a row now where he's run faster than Nicholas Snyder, and he's down to just about 4/10 of a second. But now we're starting to see Snyder pick up the pace, literally as if you just spoke it right into his ear, Shane. I mean, here he is now back out to that half second. Let's see what that time delta is this time as he comes out of turn 4.
Well, being a driver myself, this is exactly how I would do it. As Snyder crosses the line at a 30.23, Thompson at a 30.46. There's 2/10 of a second right there.
Yeah, 2/10 of a second faster, and it shows on timing and scoring as now he's gapping him by 6/10 of a second. So obviously, you know something that I certainly don't. Of course, that's because you know what the front of the race pack looks like. I was usually 6 laps down after 18.
Yeah, I tend to have a little bit more successes. We got a problem here with Snyder. Looks like he got loose. We got to pass the lead. Robert Thompson takes over the front.
Rupert Thompson in the closing laps here of stage 1 gets right in front of Nicholas Snyder after getting loose. We're going to take a look at that in just a moment here as we pull that up. And here we go, another pass for the lead. Jesus, I can't keep it. I can't keep one in front of the other. We're going to have to go back and forth, as now they're side by side coming out of turn 4 to the line. Crossing the line right now is Rupert Thompson. We've got to get to the end of lap number 20 there. Never mind, just kidding. Rupert Thompson going to be scored our race leader.
Yeah, it wasn't by much. It definitely was not by much. Those two dragged it coming off of 4.
No, that was an ant's leg hair.
I'll go with that.
My goodness.
Yeah, looking back on what happened with the 5, I caught a look at that, and it's never good when you see the right door number on a car.
I'm trying to run this back here and see if I can't. Let's see. This was back here on lap number 18. We'll watch the 5.
Oh, he just got on the
above.
throttle. He got on the throttle too early. Back end just skated out on him when he got on the throttle on exit.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, man. That's what a patient driver is. I talked about it in our open. A patient driver is basically hanging out there and loitering behind somebody, waiting for them to make the mistake, and he sure as heck did.
Yeah, he did, and he was able to capitalize and pick up the stage win. And we definitely have a little bit of a split strategy coming here on pit road.
Just about everybody coming down pit road, with the exception of Chris Gilbert and Aaron Thompson. That's more than just an interesting decision. That's wild.
Yeah, because this is, again, somebody who's trying to win themselves a championship with Chris Gilbert, trying to make the strategy play to say, hey, look, I don't mind staying out and I'm going to take a bullet now, but that final stage, I want to be somewhere close to you and battle for those final 55 laps.
I mean, Chris Gilbert does sit here in that final 4. I mean, it's Snyder, Gilbert, Scherer, and Meyer. So if you're going to be up there, you might as well be Chris Gilbert, who's now waiting patiently for dumb things to happen. And, he looks to be a capitalist here.
Yeah, he does, but unfortunately his buffer just left because I believe the 3, well, what looks to be the 3, but it's actually the 6 one scoring, just came down pit road as well.
When we go back green flag racing this time by, it's going to be Chris Gilbert, Nicholas Snyder, Rupert Thompson, Ted Reckick, Brandon Meyer, Braden Morey, Eric Scherer, and coming into pit road right now is Aaron Thompson and Reggie Packard. That's interesting.
Yeah, taking the tires late. I mean, again, this is also extending the fuel window by a lap or 2. So they might try to stay out at the end of this stage and try to extend the last stage straight to the checkered flag.
Would you blame him?
No. I mean, everyone's fighting for something here. The guys that aren't in the chase are looking for momentum. The guys that are trying to fight for the championship, well, they got a trophy and a lobster waiting for them at the end of this race. And speaking of lobsters, I'm starting to get a little hungry, and I know Barney the flagman's a little hungry on that flag stand. Green flag is back. Chris Gilbert and Nick Snyder take us down into turn 1. And Chris Gilbert with a nice advantage going into turn 1 over Nick Snyder.
He had an advantage, but now Nicholas Snyder ready to strap on the hairnet and serve lunch to Chris Gilbert. As Snyder looks to the inside, he's obviously able to stick that early here as they chase one another down the backstretch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go the signs as we haul it into turn number 3. Chris Gilbert still able to hold off Nicholas Snyder on fresh tires. Don't look now, though. The 00 of Ted Reckick starting to loiter here to the outside of the 5 of Nicholas Snyder.
Yeah, that old buckshot Ford's looking pretty fast right now, but if I was Nicholas Snyder, I would either fall back and just kind of save everything a little bit because this is a little bit of a longer stage. There you go, fall in the line. And just kind of ride this a little bit more, knowing that the 45's tires are going to give up quicker than what he has.
And this is the stage in any race. I mean, I've always thought that, in stage racing, stage 2 is the one where you need to get single file and get yourself strung out like a methadone clinic. Just get yourself in there, nice and easy, log some laps, and then get ready to do battle come stage 3.
Yeah, exactly, because we know everyone's going to come down pit road at the end of this and just kind of make sure that they've got the last few bullets loaded up in the chamber, because 5 sets of tires, they do get chewed up here, especially if you try to make that inside line work. So you got to be able to have a little something left in reserve for that final stage, and there's going to be a lot of guys with 2-3 sets of tires laying around saying, let's strap one on and see if we can actually go get this.
Going on board here with Rupert Thompson, currently running in 4th position. He's just on the low side of Brandon Meyer. As we ride here with the gyro cam, he sees all of a sudden out of that front window a battle for the lead getting ready to rage as Ted Reckick goes to get around Chris Gilbert here on lap number 27. We're working our way toward lap number 50 here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon, and I'll tell you what, these guys have kept themselves so close together. I mean, it's only 2.7 seconds from first back to 9th.
That is impressive to say the least. And that also tells you how tight this field is going to be for the rest of the night, because you have one slip up and you're going to be at the back of this fighting your way back to the front again, and you're going to end up using all your stuff up. So you have to be able to right now take a look at the 5. Oh, whoa, we got a little bit of contact here. Oh, I think somebody wasn't exactly a fan of Hunt's Brothers Pizza.
I mean, I've had it. It's really not that great.
I got a Domino's about 10 minutes down my door, so I'll stick with that.
Where I live, we have nothing but pizza joints around, and it is really just personal preference. Speaking of personal preference, Eric Shearer here in the Double Deuce, he's working the low side underneath Braden Morey in that Hunt Brothers Pizza machine. Looks like Eric has suddenly gone to back off, but wow, a big checkup out of Braden Morey coming through turn 2. And as they get ready to roll on down the backstretch, these guys are not ready to give up any kind of real estate here at New Hampshire.
No, they're not, and that's what's going to also make this championship battle interesting, is not only you racing the person that you're trying to take the championship from, but you got all these guys that are going to basically want to try to, again, build their momentum for next season, and they're trying to make sure that they can pick up a win. And speaking of picking up a win, we got a battle for the lead brewing. Exactly, and unfortunately, with New Hampshire, you cross that seam with those tires, it will immediately loosen you up. I've driven here in many different things, whether it's been a modified, a super late model, cup car, truck, it doesn't matter what it is. You cross that seam, you're immediately sideways.
Yeah, and, like I said, you compared it to Martinsville earlier. It's characteristic here and all over the rear bumper as we go on board now with Thompson is all over the rear bumper of Reckick. And, I mean, these guys haven't even come close to wrecking it, that's for sure. As we see that roof cam able to keep an eye on Reckick, it's almost like Rupert Thompson needs himself a pair of spotters to be able to get around the 00.
Yeah, because that 00 is doing what most people will do with the older tires here, and that's make that secondary groove work, which means forcing the person underneath you to tighten up their line a little bit. They can't get on the throttle as quick, but that's also going to make the person under you want to use you up more and just say, hey, oh, as the 28 gets a little bit sideways. That's the thing.
I swear, as soon as I looked away just to let those kids figure it out in the back seat, and, I went back to look at a different battle that's raging right now, and all of a sudden the 28 gets a little sideways here. Interesting night here with 15 laps to go next time by in Stage 2. they have been checking them off like, all of a sudden this is a straw poll.
Yeah, they have. And, that's what makes this so interesting for us as the 00 decides to knock a little bit of wrap off the wall and just about put the 28 in a donut hold. It's getting dicey up here.
I'll tell you what. The cool thing is that, usually when you have more than what we started with tonight, 10 cars took the green flag, 9 cars are on track. All 9 of those cars on track are on the lead lap. And, sometimes in New Hampshire, you feel like you've run out of real estate and you don't have any place to go. And all of a sudden here, out of nowhere, these guys have been battling it out all night long. And here we finally get to that single file look. And as soon as they go single file, it looks like Aaron Thompson here in the 3 machine wants to get to the inside of Brandon Meyer.
Yeah, not just that. I was just watching the 22 car try to get underneath the 4, and it didn't exactly work because he actually loosened up. Iracing trying to make his way up there to the front to try to contend for the championship. Got to kind of back it down a little bit. He's in a good spot right now. Everyone he's battling with is behind him. He's in a spot right now to get the championship, so he's just got to kind of relax a little bit.
4 of these drivers are in a spot to get the championship under their belt tonight, and they are out here on the racetrack now. Rupert Thompson is not one of them who's in contention for that championship, but Nick Snyder, Chris Gilbert, Eric Shear, and Brandon Meyer are. And right now, our first, second, and third drivers in line right now aren't even here in the championship 4.
No, they're not, and we had the 3 car with a bit of a moment coming off of turn 2 with a pretty nice save, by the way. I watched that happen. And I'm looking at Rupert Thompson's car, and I am getting some severe Davey Allison throwback vibes.
If you're going to do it, this is the place to do it. First of all, there is a game that I played when I was a kid, and this is like PS1 days when it was still the big gray box.
Yep.
And whatever it was the Haviland machine, and you could either drive a stock car or an Indy car. And
the Andretti Challenge. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was something like that. What a cool game. I think it kind of preceded NASCAR 98.
Yeah, it did. It really did, because you had Davies T-Bird in there, and I think it was either Michael or Mario's Indy car.
I want to say it was Michael Andretti's Indy car.
Yeah, and a lot of the tracks were introduced to us through that game, like Surfers Paradise, Road America, Cleveland. Most of the NASCAR tracks were introduced to us this way, and it really brought a lot of motorsports fans, to the forefront. And it was, I know I had the game. I had fun with it.
Yeah, that was probably, I think if I remember correctly, that was my first, racing game. And then, of course, I wound up with NASCAR 99 the year after Dale Sr. finally won the big one. And,
right.
At that point, EA Sports came in, and that was just the rest of the story for me.
Yeah, I remember when Papyrus had the original NASCAR Racing, and then NASCAR Racing 2 came out for PlayStation, and that was a wrap for me. That's when I really started getting into it, and then, of course, EA came in with a Thunder and all of that, and I was like, yep, done. I'm getting it.
The crazy thing about Papyrus is that this is where Papyrus has grown into. And if you look at some of the old graphics from the Papyrus days, back in the early and mid-90s, you think, what on earth were we doing? And back then, don't get me wrong, you thought that you were, really sitting in the cockpit of a stock car, and you thought that you were just, the bee's knees. And Papyrus, of course, over the years has morphed into literally what you see before you right now, folks. And now it makes me curious to see what happens 30 years from now.
Oh, I can only imagine what's going to happen 5 years from now, let alone 30 years from now, because being in sim racing 18 years in October for myself, the evolution of this has been absolutely insane. So I'm going to be interested to see where this ride goes.
I always think about it, and I'm a Batman guy, okay? The movie Batman Forever, of course, that was the Val Kilmer Batman.
Yep.
but they had the box. And, you know, this is my brain on the box, and this is your brain in the box. And you could beam television into your brain, manipulating your brain waves. That's genuinely coming. It has to be.
It wouldn't. We're close enough to it anyway with the VR.
I mean, have you ever been in VR?
Yes, I have.
So there's one where it's called Walk the Plank, and you know get in this elevator and it takes you upstairs, and the vibrations from the sound around you and stuff like that, it really makes you feel like you've now taken an elevator and you're like on the 105th floor of some building, right? And you find yourself kind of edging through in your living room to the end of this plank to jump off, and I kid you not, I fell on solid ground because I thought that I had jumped off of a plank.
I don't know whether to laugh or cry.
I felt like the world's largest moron.
We have those days, but typically there's alcohol involved.
Nope, stone cold sober.
Steve Austin would appreciate that.
See what you did there.
Ah!
Yeah, I mean, you know, just being able to do that with simple games, you know, like let's walk off the plank of a 105-story building. I'm really genuinely curious to see what iRacing is like in VR. Unfortunately, I don't race anymore because it became very evident to me, and it was intoned upon me that I was awful, so I should just give it up. And I'll tell you what, I'm still curious to see what VR would be like.
I've actually got a friend that's going to New Hampshire with me Saturday that actually does run it in VR from time to time, and it is insane to see.
The thing is, and my Jedi Master that brought me into iRacing was like, well, you know, the frames per second aren't as good in VR, blah, 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 blah. But I think it's about the immersion more than it is the frames per second. I mean, they'll pick up as technology gets better. But as we finish here in stage number 2, Rupert Thompson with a commanding lead over Eric Shearer coming down the backstretch and into turn 3 one final time in stage 2.
Yeah, and again, you just flat out said it. It's immersion. And speaking of immersing, this stage has emerged itself to finish, and Rupert Thompson is going to pick up stage number 2.
That was a blistering fast stage. Not one caution during the entire stage from, you know, start to finish of it. As now we're here on lap number 50, so we've got 55 to go from this point forward. Obviously, for some of these guys who are, you know, championship contending, they would like to finish with the race trophy and the championship trophy, but, you know, now the question becomes, who's going to make that next move?
Yeah, and this is going to be the money stop, I'm sure, because I'm looking at the elapsed time of this race so far. We're only 32 minutes in, and we've already gone through 2 stages. That is wild.
Yeah, I mean, we're running sub 30-second laps for some of these drivers. You know, I mean, best time right now is 29.83 seconds laid down by Nicholas Snyder. And really, the fall-off is not that bad. No,
and that's just how New Hampshire is these tires will actually go for a pretty long time. I think I've seen 85, 90 laps on a set of tires here in the actual car, so Goodyear knows how to bring a tire to this place. It's just a matter of how often do you want to change them, as we just got our answer.
Eric Shearer didn't come down the first time around. He stayed out the entire first 2 stages. So the Bismarck, North Dakota native is going to come down pit road just behind race leader Rupert Thompson. He's got a rearview mirror full of Ted Reichik. As they come down pit road, here comes Eric Shearer into the pit box. Pit crew waiting for him patiently as we're going to watch that Mountain Dew Baja Blast machine pop up the right side. He's going to go down, and of course, now we've got to wait for all 5 of those lug nuts to go on because these are not the next-gen cars. So it's going to slow things down. He starts to warm up the throttle. As soon as that car drops, he is away and rolls off here in P2 once again, just behind Rupert Thompson.
Yeah, we had calamity on pit road here. The 34 could not get in his pit stall. That's not what he needs if he's going to try to win the championship.
No, and you know what? We've seen that so many times, even in the real world, where it only takes one bad moment to wreck your championship hopes.
Yeah, and this could be the bad moment because that's going to put him way behind.
52 laps in the books. The iRacing.com pace car out here leading the field as we cross the start-finish line. Those lights will stay on, so we'll have one more lap of parade before we go double file Noah's Ark style. Rupert Thompson, Eric Shear, Ted Reichik, Nicholas Snyder, Braden Morey, Aaron Thompson, Reggie Packard, and Chris Gilbert all going to be out here on the racetrack. The 34 Brandon Meyer, as you had mentioned, had a moment trying to get into his pit stall, and he has, I guess, decided that that's the end of his day for the time being, as he sits impatiently down on pit road. And is the left side up, or is the car just skewed that way? Looks like he's just going to be sitting angrily on pit road.
Yeah, that car's just skewed that way. I'm looking at it right now, and he has got to be beating himself over that one.
The iRacing.com pace car leads us here out of turn number 4. Rupert Thompson with control of the field. He gets ready to enter the Geico restart zone. He's going to drop the loud pedal, and away we go. One final stage left in this season, and Rupert Thompson leads the way.
And he's got the 00 sitting there right behind him, Ted Reich, and he's got the Hornet's Nest of the championship behind him there as well, with Eric Shear and Nick Snyder going hammer and tong going into turn number 3.
Yeah, don't look now, but all of a sudden he's got to be able to make the 00 as wide as humanly possible. And right now he's got to be the steel curtain of the 70s to hold these drivers behind him.
Where's Terry Bradshaw when you need him?
Sitting on a farm in Louisiana.
You know, as long as we don't have to worry about another immaculate reception, I think we're fine.
Ooh! Contact between the 2 and the 5. A little bit of apology on race radio, but they're trying to get themselves single file for the time being. But Nicholas Snyder opting to stay as low as possible on the racetrack. Oh, they made contact again. You know what? This makes me miss these Gen 6 cars, because if that was a next gen car, that would have been the end of those races. Here comes the 3.
What a save!
We're going to go back and take another peek at this, because that was a thing of beauty out of Aaron Thompson here driving the 3. He gets a little nudge from the 4 and gets himself sideways. That solid rear axle does its job and keeps him pointed in the right direction.
Wow! That was incredible.
I can't. There are no words. There aren't.
No, there are just some things you just sit back in astonishment, like, wow, did that really just happen?
It really did just happen. Aaron Thompson holding it together all the while. Rupert Thompson at the other end of the field laid fast time down again at 29.73.
So the fresh tires are paying off, and he's being able to check out away from the field. And right now, still looking on pit road, Brandon Meyer he's just watching this thing like, I cannot believe my luck right now.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Eric Shear right now in the double deuce, he currently would be, if I remember correctly, let's pull this the rest of the way up there. Eric Shear would be the highest finishing playoff driver if the checkered flag flew right now. So he's got to be sitting here trying to bide his time and figure out what he's going to do as far as trying to get through this race. My God, we are having some fun now.
That we are, because Eric Shear has got both of his title opponents behind him, and that's exactly what he wants. If he can find a way to keep that 22 6 lanes wide here on the Magic Mile, he'll pull off a championship.
I mean, right now, Shear, Snyder, and Gilbert, all of them, your 4 drivers that are left in the championship 4, of course, with Brandon Meyer sitting down on pit road angrily. So Eric Shear currently would be poised to be your champion for the season if the checkered flag flew right now. Rupert Thompson and Ted Reich, they're still sitting up here battling it out amongst themselves, but now Nicholas Snyder looks to the inside. We're going to go on board with him as he goes right to the inside of the double deuce coming down the front stretch. He's going to haul it right into turn 1 with no S's given.
Nope, no quarrel and no quarter, and he's going to make this pass stick.
I'll tell you what, that's a man on a mission if I ever saw one.
Yeah, he wants to. I think what he's done is he's figured out what he wants out of that car. Now that he's got it, he's going to end up trying to carve his way back up to the front. He's got plenty of time to do it. So the question for him is, does he want to try to go after the win, or does he want to try to manage his race and just keep those other two behind him?
43 laps to go this time by, as Rupert Thompson, your race leader, he's up here with about 0.8 of a second over Ted Reichik. And we're going to step aside one time and one time only to pay some bills here on Sim Racing Media. I'm Dave Regal. He's Shane Lake. And this is the Gunners for Safety Rating Championship Week.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Masker can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Shane Lake and Dave Regal sitting here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. We've got the Gunners for Safety Rating Championship race for you guys. Rupert Thompson still has the advantage. You haven't missed a thing here with everything going on, but the lead has slowly started to accordion back just under 0.4 of a second. Nick Snyder, the current playoff points leader, sitting in third, and he is managing his race well. He's got both Chris Gilbert and Eric Shearer behind him. I think we're starting to see the championship picture form.
Right you are, Shane. 70 laps in the books. That means we have 35 to go this time by. Nick Snyder, Chris Gilbert, and Eric Shearer literally all running 3, 4, and 5 and letting Rupert Thompson and Ted Reichik run this race up atop the pile. The question is, who's going to win Wow, major brain flatulence there. Who's going to win the championship? Suddenly, I feel like the President of the United States.
That's when you need some caffeine not to be so sleepy.
Well, I don't like mint chocolate chip ice cream, but apparently he does. Monster.
Ain't nothing wrong with a good mint chocolate chip ice cream.
I'm
I
not a
enjoy
mint
it.
chocolate chip guy.
I'll either take a mint chocolate chip or a nice Oreo ice cream. That's mine.
Now the Oreo, that cookies and cream, that's something special.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I love picking that up, especially considering it's going to be about 95 degrees tomorrow. I'm going to need to keep my system cold.
Yeah, some people put Prestone in their cars. We put ice cream in our bodies. It's about the same thing.
Pretty much. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, Maine is about to have a heat wave. Go figure that one out.
Yeah, we hit above 93 today here just outside the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Home of the Tony Trapassa Memorial Broadcast Booth. We want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Thank you for welcoming us into your homes, onto your phones, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, especially if this is your first time with us here on Sim Racing Media, make sure that you subscribe, turn on those bell notifications. Of course, the big reason that we need some subscribers is we need to get above that 4,000 mark, because we've got a little bet going for the Sunday night NASCAR fans that tune in on primetime on Sunday night. So you can absolutely tune in with us again this week, and hopefully we can get closer and closer to that 4,000 mark.
Is that the Youngling bet that I'm hearing about?
Yingling. Don't ever call it Youngling again.
You realize Maine accents, dude. Come on now. Give me a break here.
Yeah, I know. Listen, when you have a real town named Crabapple Cove, let me know.
I'll give you that one.
The thing is, Alan Bergen is from St. Louis, Missouri, home of Anheuser-Busch. I am from southeastern Pennsylvania, but I spent some time living up in the coal regions, and I am a devout consumer of Yuengling beer, and not the lager that you all see in other states that we ship out from here. I personally love Flight or Yuengling Premium, which is literally only available in Pennsylvania, and which is just your average. I call it the Archie Bunker kind of beer. But if we can hit 4,000 subscribers before the end of the NASCAR season, Alan Bergen will drink a Yuengling lager. If that doesn't happen on the championship finale night in Phoenix, I will drink on air a Budweiser. And quite frankly, I really don't want to do that. So please subscribe to Sim Racing Media.
Oh, I just get to sit back and watch because being a former bouncer and DJ, I was more of a cocktail drinker than anything else, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I mean, where I'm from, Anheuser-Busch is like cussing, and how serious of a beer are you when the Anheuser-Busch family, when Adolphus Busch said, we need this to sound German. Let's call it Budweiser because it sounded German. That's it. That's why it's Budweiser. Has nothing to do with any region in Germany. It just sounded German.
I have got absolutely nothing for that.
Look, there's a couple of different things in advertising that I absolutely have always adored. That's one of them. The other is, why is it called Pabst Blue Ribbon?
That I don't know.
Do you think Pabst ever won a contest?
You would assume so with the name of Blue Ribbon.
Nope. Negative.
Okay.
When you do win a contest, though, whoa! The chrome
Hey-o!
horn comes out from Nicholas Snyder to the rear bumper of Ted Reckig. When you win a contest, do they award you a blue ribbon, correct?
Yes, they do.
So as a marketing move, the Pabst company, of course up there in Wisconsin, on every individual bottle was tying little silk ribbons to the tops of the bottles so that when you reached for it in a cooler, it was easy to find Pabst because it was the one with the blue ribbon. It had nothing to do with winning a contest at all. But you think that it did because it's a blue ribbon, and it really isn't. It was literally a marketing idea to make it more noticeable in a beer cooler.
I feel like we need to have the NBC The More You Know flash across the screen right about now.
Dave Regal, I'm here to entertain and inform.
And apparently I'm just here to learn.
Well, for more random, useless facts, you hang out with Uncle Dave here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial broadcast booth.
Yeah, I got a feeling we're going to be hanging out a bit this summer, to be honest with you.
Tony and I used to kind of try to outdo one another with useless information. And it was starting to get pretty disgusting after a while because he would say, "Hey, did you know?" And I would finish the sentence for him. And then I would try the same thing, and he would finish the sentence for me. And eventually, we couldn't get each other anymore.
That's impressive. And speaking of impressive, I'm watching that 5-car trying to make that inside line work. Just not getting the drive off the corner, try to get around this 0-0.
The 0-0 of Ted Reckick holding on to P2 with his cold dead hands as Brandon Meyer finally brings the 34 off of pit road and lays fast time down at 29.63.
Yeah, he's just out there. He's out there for bragging rights at this point. He knows he's not going to finish any worse than 4th. It's just bragging rights to say, hey, I may not be in this anymore, but I'm still going to steal a fast lap.
Well, since he was in the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. Whoa, that 5-car trying to make that inside line work again and just doesn't get the drive off. He's sending it into these corners now.
He wants to try to get himself as far away from Gilbert and Shearer as possible. And Nicholas Snyder now doing so, sliding right on past Ted Reckick.
What a move. He threw that car into the corner. That was one of the most ballsiest sends I have seen in a while here at New Hampshire.
Nicholas Snyder with the big ball send now captures P2. He's got to work his way back up here to Rupert Thompson, who's now running away with about a 1.25 second lead over Snyder. 85 laps in the books, 20 to go at the stand this time by in this season. So Rupert Thompson with control of the field. He sees Nicholas Snyder in the rearview mirror, but it's quite a ways back. Ted Reckick, meanwhile, he's trying to hold off Chris Gilbert as he now has nothing to do but look at the rear bumper of Nicholas Snyder.
Yeah, that 28 car just got wicked loose coming off of the corner here. There's about a tenth or two between these cars lap time-wise. With 20 laps to go, that 5 car could get there.
Nicholas Snyder with control of Rupert Thompson with control of the field. Nicholas Snyder following. We stay green flag racing with 19 laps to go. Braden Morey back here in the 4 machine. Of course, he's being scored as the 99. He's just ahead of Aaron Thompson, 2 seconds back, 0.2 seconds back. Aaron Thompson looking here at the rear bumper of Morey. And I got to figure that the Pittsburgh, New Hampshire driver, of course not Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he's got to be sitting here thinking, this is my home track. How am I not doing better?
I'd be thinking the same thing because Loudon's a 3-hour drive from my doorstep. And yes, while Oxford's a lot closer, do I really want to claim that as my home track?
I hate that racetrack. It's nothing but one continuous turn.
A lot of people on iRacing hate Oxford. Believe me, I wish they had a better option, whether it was Wiscasset or Speedway 95 or even Beach Ridge, to be honest with you.
Now, you being from Maine, does that make you a maniac?
Hang around me long enough, Dave, you'll have that answer.
Fair enough. Guess I'll find out in October.
Hey, I was already celebrating the Celtics win last night. I'm surprised I'm even awake right now.
I don't follow basketball close enough. I know, whoa, big bobble out of Aaron Thompson. Looks like those rear tires are just this side of cooked. I don't follow basketball enough, but I know enough to know that the Celtics are historically good, and they just add more into their book.
Yeah, and this is number 18, and finally, after getting close in 2022 and losing to Golden State and then the debacle of 2023. Here we are, and Dallas didn't even really bother showing up for Game 5 because we put the defensive screws to them. And I talk, of course, all about this on my morning gig, but beside the point. Again, I'm just surprised I'm even awake right now.
You know, speaking of Golden State, and this literally shows my ignorance to basketball, is Steph Curry still a thing?
Yes, he is.
Is he still playing in Golden State?
Yes, he's still their starting point guard.
And now I know.
I mean, he revolutionized the game, and he leads the league in threes. I mean, he's the overall three-point shooter.
Yeah, but I feel like there used to be a period of time where I would turn on SportsCenter, they'd be talking about golf and then hemorrhage the word Steph Curry. And now I don't hear that as often.
No, it's kind of been spread out. Caitlin Clark, and I already got a headline that just hit my phone for tomorrow. And for those of us who knew a lot about baseball, we just lost Willie Mays.
I need a minute.
The Say Hey Kid has unfortunately passed away. And, you know, our thoughts go out to the family and friends of Willie Mays. He's truly an icon in the sport of baseball.
Willie Mays, an incredible icon over his career, and he played, you know, during some of the most difficult periods of baseball history.
He really did.
And not only that, but he did it during a time where he was playing against, you know, what we look at as some of, at least my feeling is, some of the best players in history.
Oh, easily. I mean, the time frame that Willie played in, so many electric players, from Gehrig to, oh God, a lot of the names escape me off the top of my head, but you know, Lou Gehrig is obviously a big one. Mickey Mantle's a big one. Some of the greatest teams in the 40s, 50s, 60s. You know, Willie Mays was right there with them.
I mean, you have to understand that this is a guy whose career spanned from, like, I think it was 51 all the way through 1973, and he only played in 2 cities. He played for the New York Giants before they moved to the Bay Area and became the San Francisco Giants, and then he played there until the early 70s and then came back to New York to finish his career as a Met. The Say Hey Kid grew up in the Deep South. He went to Fairfield Industrial High School in Alabama, in Westfield, Alabama. He did not have an easy life before he came to baseball, and even then, he still wound up having to come against, you know, as you had mentioned, some of the greatest names in all of baseball. And it's weird because I was just looking at his stats the other day, and I mean, 660 home runs. He has a 156 WAR. He has a batting average of 301. I don't remember why I was looking at it, but, you know, dead at probably, I think he was probably 93.
Let me take a look. I actually found all of this out in the group chat I'm in for the sports show. Let me just find this out really fast. I'm thinking right around 93, 94.
I think he was born about 31.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was right about there. Let me just find out really quick. Live research, ladies and gentlemen.
While you research that, we're going to watch Rupert Thompson. Of course, now I'm going to have to sit and lament about Willie Mays passing away. Also, the godfather of Barry Bonds. Rupert Thompson leads this race now by 1.3 seconds. Nicholas Snyder running P2. Ted Reckick finally falling back to P3. Chris Gilbert, Aaron Thompson, Braden Morey, that is, and Reggie Packard, your top 7. Eric Shearer, having already burned up his equipment, he had to come down on lap number 95, so he's out of championship contention. That leaves it to Nicholas Snyder and Chris Gilbert. Nicholas Snyder hasn't really closed in on Rupert Thompson, and he may be willing to just kind of run his race here and stay ahead of Ted Reckick and, of course, Chris Gilbert. As long as he's got that buffer, he may just go out here and log some laps and come home with the championship trophy.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me with about a 2.5 second lead advantage over Ted Reckick and another about 4 seconds back at Gilbert. It wouldn't surprise me if he's just logging laps. And yes, Willie Mays was born in 1931.
I'm sorry, but sometimes I feel like the things that I retain are completely ridiculous.
Well, sometimes they are, and sometimes you get the reason that they're not so ridiculous.
Well, I assume that we will see probably the largest baseball funeral in the last 40 years occurring in the next few days, but with 5 laps to go, let's not put the nail in the casket just yet of the Gunners for Safety Rating Cup Series, as these Gen 6 cars have been putting on quite a show all night. I love these Gen 6 cars. To me, they were like the last of the cool cars before NASCAR got all kinds of full of itself.
Yeah, and with NASCAR getting full of itself, it took away the sound of these cars, it took away the scream of the engines, and it took away a lot of upper performance, because now there's no chance we'll see anything like this come this weekend.
No, you're going to go out there and watch everybody go single file for about 70 laps, and then they might make a pass, and then for another 70 laps they'll go single file again.
Yeah, unfortunately, but you know, that's just the nature of the beast with this car and this track. I mean, that's just how it is. And unfortunately, NASCAR knows the ways to fix it. They just choose not to fix it.
Matt Cisna, I see you here in the YouTube.com live chat. If you're talking about how do you join the Gunners for Safety Rating League, you can check them out over on Iracing.com. In the forums, you can find them listed as a league. And if you're talking about trying to join Sim Racing Media, on the other hand, you can always reach out to us at simracingmedia.com. Rupert Thompson with control of the field, rolling out of turn number 3. He sees the flag stand. The popsicle sticks go in the air. We're 2 laps to go.
And with a commanding 1.3 second lead, I think he's just put this thing in cruise control. And same for Nick Snyder, because he's got about a 3-second gap back. And at this point, no one's going to be able to do anything.
Nope, the packages are wrapped, and all that needs to happen is for a checkered flag pattern bow to go on top of the box. As Rupert Thompson comes back to the start-finish line, the white flag's in the air, the popsicle sticks go down, and we're racing back to checkers.
And with the advantage he's got right now, all he's got to do is just stare at the daylight and hit his marks, because the Magic Mile is about to crown itself a winner and a champion. Someone's got a 24-pound lobster waiting for him, but someone's got about a 20-pound trophy.
Rupert Thompson coming out of turn number 4 for the final time tonight. He can see the checkered flag in the air. Barney waves it, and Rupert Thompson brings home the checkered flag here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And celebrating his championship run is Nicholas Snyder in the number 5 HendrickCars.com Chevrolet Camaro.
Yeah, talk about a little bit of a drift job here. I wonder if we're going to see some dueling donuts on the front straightaway.
I think they should go right next to one another. A couple of big old donuts.
Yeah, that would be pretty nice to see. As we got the 28 and the 0 high-fiving each other with the doors.
Or the place where the doors used to be.
Yeah, don't remind me. I know there's really nothing stock about these cars anymore.
Nope, the only thing that it comes stock with is a driver. Is another figurative high five here to the 3 car of Aaron Thompson from Rupert Thompson. And now as Rupert Thompson sits patiently on the start-finish line, Nicholas Snyder decides that it's time to burn it down here on the front stretch at New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Yeah, and Rupert decided to get out of the way and let Nick have his moment, because Nick's just going to burn this thing straight to the ground tonight. And I just referenced Nickelback. Somebody please help me.
It's fine.
It's
just
all right.
Waiting for our champion to get here into the Discord. Nicholas Snyder twirling down through turns 2. I'm sorry, through turns 4 and 3.
Yeah, I think he's decided to say that's enough. He's going to take it down onto pit road.
Nick Thompson celebrating as a champion would. And I'll tell you what, respectfully enough, it seems like Nick Snyder celebrating as a champion. Rupert Thompson respectfully getting out of the way and letting the stage go here to Nicholas Snyder as we're waiting for at least Snyder to get here into the Discord channel. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, making us a part of your evening as we do all but 6 nights of the week. Here is Nick Snyder, your Gunners for Safety rating champion. Hey, Nick, it's Dave and Shane up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How are you guys doing?
Listen, we're doing good, but obviously Marco Island, Florida is on fire tonight celebrating with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I haven't won 2 championships back to back. Pretty excited and looking forward to next season already.
Yeah, now you guys have a little bit of a break, about a month break, if I remember correctly, before next season. So what does that feel like to go back to back as a champion and now look forward to maybe trying to three-peat?
Yeah, three-peat would be awesome. But we have a lot of good people in this league, and they keep you on your toes. This season's kind of been an up and down for me, compared to last season. Last season I kind of dominated, but this season was a little bit of a struggle for me, getting acclimated with the Gen 6 car again, and just how loose these cars are. But now going into season 2, I think I have a pretty good idea of what to expect.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, you absolutely killed it tonight. I mean, you weren't able to get the checkered flag as well, but still, you managed to show your rear bumper to everybody on the circuit tonight. Listen, before we cut you loose here and let you go celebrate your championship, who helps you get it done on the 5 team, and who do you need to thank for tonight?
All my people, my agent, Billy, Ian, Julie, Dean, everyone that supports me in, the real life situation with 360 Sprint Car Racing. We got a race coming up this Saturday at Volusia, so, just be prepared to get a win there too.
There's a shameless plug. Folks, make sure that you get down to Volusia and check out Nick Snyder as he goes 360 Sprint Car Racing. I wish that I lived in the Sunshine State. I would make an excuse to get to the racetrack this weekend. Congratulations on the championship, and we will see you next season right here on Sim Racing Media.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Well, Shane, 1 in the books. Of course, it was a privilege to be able to sit here and watch these guys celebrate their champion and, of course, finish out their season here on Sim Racing Media.
Yeah, and especially for it being personally for me at my home track with New Hampshire Motor Speedway, it definitely put on a great show tonight. We had some incredible saves, and it's not often you see a champion crowned here, and we were able to have that thrill tonight, so I'm all for it.
Yes, sir. One final look at our results here from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Rupert Thompson brings home the checkered flag, but Nicholas Snyder crowned the champion here in the Gunners for Safety Rating Cup Series. Ted Reckick joins them on the podium tonight in P3. Chris Gilbert and Aaron Thompson finished in 4th and 5th, rounding out the top 5, while Braden Morey, Reggie Packard, Eric Shearer finishing in 8th, Brandon Meyer in 9th, and Gary Mansberger making up the 10 cars who took the green flag tonight here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Lobsters all around for everybody. And Shane, take us home and get us out of here for the night.
Sounds good to me. I'll go grab a couple of claw crackers, and we'll have ourselves some fun. But for Dave Regal, I'm Shane Lake. As Tony Trapazzo, whose booth we sit in, would say, as you walk down the road of life, please don't play in traffic. And until we meet again, everybody, please do take care.